just when I think that I have experienced the most extraordinary experience that I could possibly have had in the beyond body, something like this happens, and it makes me rethink everything. So let me get right into this experience on February the 9th. February the 9th at about 5:16 p.m., though this experience actually happened between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just didn't have time to post it earlier, so I'm going to talk to you about it now. Just an amazing experience. So it was, again, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. For those that are interested, I didn't have any special sort of binaural beats or music on when this started happening. I was listening to National Public Radio, which is something I do usually before I go to work. I'll just sit with my eyes shut. Now, I will say that I was sort of maybe 60 or 70% kind of wanting to go and thinking about it a little bit. I wasn't completely 100% focused on it, but I was definitely open to the idea of having either a beyond body experience or an astral projection experience. So after a while, now I've talked about my beyond body experiences on this channel many, many times. For those of you who may be listening for the first time, beyond body is not necessarily astral projection. And the reason that it's different is that instead of feeling separation, I don't feel any separation at all. I will at times feel movements as if my entire body is moving left, right, up, down, whatever. In this particular case, I didn't feel any movement at all, guys. This was one of those cases where, now I've also talked about this as well, where I have been able to shut my eyes, and after a while, I'll begin to see a landscape of some sort. I'll see a city or whatever. Maybe I'll see a beach or a forest or something like that. And many times I'm able to observe these landscapes. Sometimes I can go into that landscape and interact with it, but it's after a bit of time of, allowing it to kind of solidify, I guess, in a way, because in the very beginning, it kind of looks like, I would imagine it kind of looks like video. It's much sharper, but like I can see it kind of like that. And I'm sort of moving. I guess I picture it almost as if in the beginning, when I do beyond body in this way, it's almost like I'm just consciousness and I'm moving through whatever landscape I happen to be moving through. And eventually I can, at some point, interact with that landscape. Now, I was seeing what I was beginning to see after the darkness lifted. And it's interesting. What I want you to imagine, because I really want you to see this from my point of view. I'm sure that most of you have flown in a commercial plane before, in a jet. And when you are going in for a landing, sometimes when it's really cloudy, you'll begin to descend. And as you descend, the clouds will begin to, disappear, I guess, as you go underneath them. You won't see just this cloudy view anymore. The city will come into view. And that's kind of what it's like. The darkness is kind of like clouds, and I'm moving through these clouds. And at some point, I can see the visual wherever I happen to be. Now, this time I happen to be in this area. What I perceived was rock, right? So I could see rocks, almost like maybe you could picture yourself being in a cave almost in the very beginning. When I was first seeing the landscape and it was first coming into view, that's what I saw in the very beginning. But, over a bit of time, it starts to become more and more solid. Now, what I did, this is something I have never done before, and this was something that was extraordinary to me. What I did was, as the landscape kind of came into view, instead of waiting for things to kind of become more solid, I reached out. Now, it almost felt as if I was reaching out with my hand, which I wasn't. I wasn't actually reaching out with my hand. I was more than likely reaching out with my mind. But I did in my brain, I was thinking I'm reaching out with my physical hand to touch the rock or the rocks that I'm seeing. Now, when I reached out and I touched the rock or whatever it was that I was seeing, I was suddenly there, which was extraordinary. Think of it as if you were watching something on your big screen television, whatever, and you were able to reach into the television, and when you touched it, you became a part of whatever the show was that you were watching, or whatever, sports team you were watching. You're suddenly there and you're standing there. That was what it was like, guys. It was amazing. I've never done anything like that before. It was instantaneous. As soon as I touched it, I was there. I was standing there and I was looking around. Now, what I expected to see when I was there, when I looked up, was I actually expected to see the sky. I thought that there were going to be rocks and then I was going to see maybe a sky above. But that's not what I saw. When I looked up, I realized that I was in some sort of subterranean place. There was rock everywhere. I was underground. There was rock, and all I could see was rock. And it was interesting because it was way, 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 way high up in the air. I mean, it might as well have been the sky I was looking at, but it was rock, and it looked as if it had been carved out and shaped almost like a vaulted ceilings or something. I guess think of any ancient, maybe very old church you might go into. I'm thinking of Italy right now. You go in and you see the way the ceilings are. And that's what this place seemed to me to be, except for it was all rock. And it seemed to be very detailed in the way that it was carved out. Very detailed. There was a lot of attention to detail with this. So I'm looking around, and one of the first things I see as I'm walking, and I'm taking this in, and by the way, as I'm walking, I'm kind of talking to myself. I'm talking to myself in my thoughts, but I really felt as if I was actually talking out loud and saying, this is a subterranean place. I'm underground. I noticed that there were apartment buildings, or that's at least what it appeared to me. Appeared to me to be high-rise apartment buildings. They didn't go all the way up into the ceiling, which again, I'm saying ceiling, the rock that was up above, it didn't go that high, but they were pretty high rises. And I noted that there was a young boy, and he was sitting on a bench. And I believe he was talking to me, but I didn't understand what he was saying. He was saying something in a language I had no idea, no clue what he was saying. And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. And then this little girl just came out of nowhere. She couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old. And she said, the reason that we communicate with you in this way, and she was speaking to me in perfect English when she was speaking. She said, because we want you to feel comfortable. And I was like, wow, okay, interesting. So she was speaking to me in a way that I would feel the most comfortable. So she started walking away after she said this, and I'm like, oh no, I want to ask more questions. So I'm walking after her, and I said, excuse me, I said, is this form what you look like? Is this really what you look like? And she said, no. And I said, well, what do you actually look like? And she said, well, we're hollow. And she said that exact word. She said hollow. And I was like, hollow? Wow. Like maybe transparent. And then I said, would you show me what you really look like? Show me what form your true form. So at this, she seemed to be a bit, I think, hesitant about it. Like, well, why would you want to see us like that? Because, I mean, I'm thinking, again, that this was to make me feel more comfortable. But I insisted on it. I said I wanted to see. So as I was watching her, she started to become transparent. And what was interesting about this was that it wasn't just that she was transparent. I believe I was able to see stars, galaxies. I think there were things I was looking at it, and I was just like, my mind wasn't able to fully grasp what I was actually seeing, but it was just amazing. So at some point in all this, a group of these beings had gathered around me. Now, I'm not sure how I made the transition from seeing her transparent to this group. I know that I'm pretty sure that it happened afterwards. But one of the questions, and I think there was more discussed here that I may not remember, but as I was telling them that I'm from Earth, I also told them that at this very moment, my consciousness is here in this place, wherever this place was, and my body is somewhere else. Now, this was very interesting, guys, because to these beings, that seemed to be very strange. They were wondering why I would do such a thing. Why would I leave my body someplace and go with my consciousness to someplace else? It was it was fascinating. They, in their minds, were like, well, why would you do that? Why would you leave your body? And what I believe is that for them, they may have been pure consciousness, or they may not have had to do that. For them, being able to jump from one place to another or do whatever it is that they did, they could probably go to any place they wanted to go to. They didn't have to say, like we do, leave our bodies or do beyond body. They could just do it. They could just be there. It was very interesting, guys. It was very interesting. At this point, I had made the decision that I was going to go back. And I told them that I was going to tell people about this, that this was a very interesting thing. And at some point, I just thought to myself, okay, I want to be back. And I opened my eyes here back into 3D. But it was amazing. And it confirmed a few things for me. It did confirm that, at least for these beings, they do what they do to make us feel comfortable. At least in this particular situation. And I want to be careful to say this because in this particular place, in this particular underground civilization, that was the way it was. It may be different in other places, but that was the way it was here. And my suspicion is that I've encountered others that are like this as well, that have this. And the other very interesting thing, two other interesting things, I was able to reach out and grab something and be someplace instantly, which I'm going to try that again, definitely. And the last thing was this sort of curiosity about why we would do what we do, and to understand that there are civilizations out there that are so different than us. And that is so amazing to me. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this extraordinary journey with me. And until next time, take care.